For the award of contract for the dualization and reconstruction of the Kano Kwana Ganja Adeja Road.
Federal government approves repairs of roads affected by the recent flood in the country.
We're looking at reconnecting our people, the African mainland or motherland with diaspora Caribbean region.
Nigeria and Antigua and Barbuda commence operationalization of air services agreement.
Federal High Court sets up special task force for disposal of pre-election cases within 4 weeks.
The redesign is fine when the economy is buoyant, but for now there's hardship everywhere.
Since I was born, dollar has remained the way it is. It has not been changed. The most important thing is the strength of your currency.
On Good Morning Nigeria today, we discuss Naira redesign and its impact on the exchange rate of the national currency.
The place of national currency to a nation and her citizens cannot be underscored, as it does not only facilitate the purchase of goods and services locally, but also across borders, making the nation a member of the global community. This is in addition to the fact that the currency is also referred to as the face of the nation.
Quite right there, Kyrian. Of course, the national currency is one of the national symbols, along, of course, with the coat of arms and the national flag. Now, since the announcement of the redesign of the Nigerian Naira, some of the banknotes, 200, 500, and 1,000 Naira, there have been mixed reactions, ranging, of course, from comments on the timing to the appropriateness of the redesign. Now, in spite of the fact that the exercise is intended to ensure financial stability and also enhance the maintenance of the country's external reserves and then impact on the exchange rate of the local currency to major basket of international exchange currencies.
Yeah, exactly. And for example, the CBN states that 2.73 trillion naira out of the 3.23 trillion naira are in circulation outside the vaults of commercial banks, stressing that the currencies in circulation have multiplied rapidly since 2015, rising from 1.46 trillion naira in December 2015 to 3.23 trillion in September 2022. CBN now says that this takes away the power of regulating money in circulation through monetary policy.
Well, there are a number of other reasons that the central bank has adduced for the redesign of some of the banknotes, including, of course, addressing the shortage of clean and fit banknotes, as well as addressing the negative perception of the national currency, including, of course, reducing the risk of counterfeiting, evidenced by several security reports. So, ultimately, we'll be asking again the benefit of redesigning the Naira against the backdrop of what we have seen as the impact of the rush by some persons to exchange the national currency for the US dollar. That's the rate that we are seeing on the parallel market. It's getting up and up and up and up. But the CBN itself had always advised that, look, the parallel market rate cannot and should never be used to assess the strength of a national currency, because for transactions you have the rates stipulated by the central bank and, of course, utilized by the various commercial banks. The only challenge there is that you have access
Exactly. This has been happening over the years, because if there is a strong policy, monetary policy, I wouldn't see a reason why some schools and some organizations, ask for dollars in exchange of any services or goods, which is wrong.
Absolutely.
In a nation that does not use dollar as its national currency.
Well, of course, we shall be taking a look at the impact of all of that and what it means for the domestic economic pressures, particularly inflation. Because as we very well know, traders and all kinds of persons, we tell you prices have gone up because the value of the Naira has also declined against the US dollar. And the claim is that because the nation imports most of its goods and services, then of course there's a benchmark against the US dollar. And I think that point is actually exaggerated, that Nigeria is a wholly import-dependent economy, or mostly import-dependent. I don't think that is altogether a correct rendition of it, but there's profiteering.
There is reasonability in thinking in that direction, because we are great importers. There are no two ways about it.
We are great, but not that wholly.
We top the list, in Africa, if you ask me. From all education, apart from Francophone countries, of course, we rely, on France for the supply of goods.
But our population also would warrant that. All right. So we'll be taking a look at the impact on the exchange rate, particularly on the parallel market, as well as, of course, what needs to be done to ensure that the consequences are mitigated as of course, the deadline for the final exchange of the notes continue to get closer. Welcome to Good Morning Nigeria. I'm Kingsley Osadolo.
I am Kirian Umai, also joining my colleague to bring you the effect of Naira Redesign on foreign exchange. We are live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. I will bring you our usual other segments, of course, that will form part of today's package. For now, let's have the news highlight with Elizabeth Omari. Hello, Elizabeth.
Good morning, Kieran and Kingsley. Here is the morning news. The federal government says repair works should commence on roads affected by the recent flooding as it approves memos for the award of contracts by the Ministry of Works and Housing. The Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development also got approval to stop bird flu from causing havoc in the country, as the ministry says there wouldn't be serious food shortage as a result of flooding.
A variation order for the East-West Road project sections 1 to 4 from Warri to Port Harcourt, Eket Oron, including Oron Eket bypass, in the sum of 260 billion, thereby increasing the total contract sum for the outstanding sections 1 to 4 of the East-West Road projects from the sum of formerly of 246 billion now to 506 billion.
The current trend in the global economic climate change and the Ukrainian conflict all present opportunities for closer ties among developing economies, especially by focusing attention on trade and energy access for the benefit of the people. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo stated this when he received in audience the Nigerian Bond Secretary General of the D8 organization, Ambassador Isiaka Imam. Speaking on the need for closer ties among developing countries, such as those in the D8, the Vice President said this is a very important time for member countries to really focus on critical issues on trade and energy. Nigeria offers great prospect for expanding trade among the D8 members. Vice President Osinbajo explains and urges members to look at how to use Nigeria as a point to take off from some kind of way to the African free trade zones. On Nigeria's advocacy for a just transition to net zero, the Vice President urges the D8 to join in the campaign, explaining that advocacy in the area of energy access is an important consideration in the whole campaign towards net zero, and says it is possible for the D8 to take it up because all the countries are faced with more or less the same sort of challenges. He commended the renewed vigor by the present Secretary of the D8 to give it a new direction and create better opportunities that will benefit member countries. Ambassador Isiaka Imam remarked that there is a deliberate effort to reinvigorate trade among member countries in the new direction of the D8, especially improving trade volumes from 121 billion to a new target of about $500 billion by 2030. He added that plans are underway to establish a D8 MSME center in Abuja as part of efforts to boost trade by building capacity among MSMEs in member countries, noting that the center, if realized, will be a game changer for members to enhance the capacity and training of MSMEs in branding and quality control. Nigeria is a member of the D8, which is an organization for development cooperation among 8 developing countries, comprising Bangladesh, Egypt, Indonesia, Iran, Malaysia, Pakistan, and Turkey. Prime Minister of Antigua and Bermuda, Gaston Brown, says the personalization of the bilateral air service agreement between Nigeria and the twin island of Antigua and Bermuda opens the door to Nigeria becoming the biggest trading partner with the Caribbean nation ahead of US and UK. This was at the inaugural reception of Nigeria-owned Antigua Airways by the Ministers of Foreign Affairs and Tourism on arrival in St. John's, Antigua.
Nigeria has over 218 million people. And to me, that is the potential for us to be the number one source market for us.
We're now looking at, in a real way, trade with Africa. Not only in tourism, but in goods and services. We're looking at reconnecting our people, the African mainland or motherland with diaspora Caribbean region.
A bit from the judiciary, the Federal High Court of Nigeria has constituted a special task force of judges to hear and determine all pre-election cases filed before it within 4 weeks. A statement by the Assistant Director Information of the court, Catherine Christopher, says the Chief Judge of the Court, Justice John Demba Soho, deems it necessary to designate a team of judges following the large volume of pre-election cases that have flooded the court. Judges who are members of the task force will suspend all regular cases in their respective courts due to the urgency of electoral cases which are time-bound. The third edition of the Conference of Election Security Management for Senior Police Officers of Nigeria has ended in Owerri, Imo State, with a resolve to advise government to set up election offences prosecution units that will expedite prosecution of electoral offences. The conference also resolved that police personnel on election duty must remain neutral in discharging their duties during the 2023 general elections.
The police is to exercise effective partnership and coordination with other security agencies that are deployed to assist the electoral process. The conference also urged that police should ensure that political campaigns by various political parties are streamlined in order to avoid clashes and likely breakdown of law and order.
The Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps FCT Command has paraded 9 suspects who allegedly specialized in adulteration of petroleum products and sale to unsuspecting public. The arrest follows a special operation carried out by the Corps Commandant General's Special Intelligence Squad.
As soon as the investigations are concluded, necessary actions will be taken against them so as to serve as deterrent to other illegal operators or illegal dealers in petroleum products.
The safety of lives and property can only be guaranteed if citizens collaborate with security agencies in terms of information sharing. The Comptroller, Lagos State Command of the Nigerian Immigration Services, Mani Bagiwa, reiterated this while briefing newsmen on the interception of some illegally trafficked migrants.
Trafficking, as well as security threats such as routine violence, rape, kidnapping, terrorism.
And that's the morning news. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Kieran and Kingsley after this time out. To stay with us.
It's a new for Nigeria. Oh, better days are coming. Better days that gives us hope and strength. Determined to keep this hope alive, bringing smiles back to all Nigerians.
It's a new dawn in Nigeria. Renewed hope beckons on our people. The silver lining dots the skies. The firmament portents a bright future as the people of Nigeria move to vote a man whom they have come to trust for the realization of their aspirations for a better Nigeria. That man is Asiwaju Bola Tinubu. He has been tested. He can be trusted. Vote Asiwaju Bola Tinubu as President of Nigeria 2023. Vote Kashim Shettima as Vice President. Vote APC. Surely with Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the smiles are returning. We are close to home.
Bringing the smiles back to all Nigerians.
The 35th National Festival of Arts and Culture, Ekona Fest 2022, with the theme Culture and Peaceful Coexistence, holds from Monday the 7th to Sunday 13th November 2022 at the National Stadium, National Institute for Sports, Lagos State. Time 10 a.m. daily. The official opening ceremony will take place on Wednesday 9th November 2022. Time 11 a.m. Venue Mobolaji Johnson Arena, formerly Onikon Stadium, Lagos State. Ekona Fest 2022, promoting culture and peaceful coexistence. Otumba Olusegun Urushewe OON, Chairman, National Festival Planning Committee, announcer. Media partners: NTA, AIT, LTV, FRCN, Eagle 7, Sports Radio, and Discom Television.
All I do is win. I wake up, I win. I close my eyes, and I win. We got a message, girlfriend. Keep up on me, come on, let's keep it to the world, stop it. Independent women, come on, now let's get it. I'ma keep it to the world, stop.
Wow, you look great. Did you just come from the salon? Darling superstar, great birthday for lawn fresh, no matter what.
To every politician, as the campaigns gain momentum and passions begin to rise, remember, the errors of your opponents do not make you a success. Do not run down your opponent and inflame passions to violence between and among your supporters. What counts is what you plan to do for the electorate and how you intend to relieve the sufferings and bring succor. Nigeria is in dire need of patriotic leaders at all levels, leaders who will make national development their priority. Concentrate on telling the electorate what you intend to do when you get into office. Focus on making your vision clear to the electorate. Don't engage in verbal abuses, fake news or speeches. Keep dealing with issues that will bring progress. You win the hearts and minds of the people by being above board, by being civil, patriotic, and showing empathy. Let's join hands to make the 2023 elections peaceful. A message from the National Orientation Agency.
We thank you for staying with us on Good Morning Nigeria today. We now talk business, and Alika Obalachi is our guide.
The Deputy Governor Economic Policy of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Dr. Kingsley Obiora, said the development of the Naira is buttressed by the giant stride made in the digital currency space, as the creation of both individual and merchant wallet has gained traction and posed to further stimulate Naira transactions in Nigeria.
We have seen the Naira record the following milestones: 927,000 total downloads, 317,560 activated wallets, 33 banks that are fully integrated and live on the platform, over 3 billion that has been successfully minted by the bank, 2.1 billion has been issued to deposit money banks, and over 3,320 merchants have successfully registered on the Naira, including ShopRite, Sahar Stores, Fraser Suits, AA Rano, amongst others.
Since its launch, the Naira is said to offer Nigerians endless possibilities in using financial services, thus living up to its slogan, Same Naira, More Possibilities. Now let's take a look at Wednesday tradings on the floor of the exchange. With business news, Alika Opanachi, Arua.
Many thanks, Alika, for the business package on Good Morning Nigeria. Coming up next, newspaper review.
All right, and we have about 4 papers to review this morning.
That's right.
First, the New Telegraph newspaper, New Telegraph, and above the nameplate of the newspaper, CBN, RT 200 policy attract 1.84 trillion naira inflows in 7 months. That's on page 3. Nigerian banks capital resilient to naira depreciation. It's on page 8. Now, below the name flag, Lagos Assembly begins probe of indicted MDAs. With the rider flood, Jonathan calls on federal government to assist Bayelsa State. That's on page 26 and 29. Now, reps reject 5.112 billion budget for AUGX office, accuses Foreign Affairs Minister of flouting budget provisions. Details on page 2. Now, hazy weather, NIMET advises on likely flight cancellations and bird strikes. It's on page 4. Now, gunmen abduct 39 children in Katsina, demand 30 million ransom. Details on pages 6 and 30. There has a writer. Khan holds one-day national prayer retreat on Friday. Okay, the lead story on the Telegraph, New Telegraph, court okays suit seeking to void all APC's nominations. With 3 riders as PDP challenges legality of the Buni-led APC committee. Judge fixes November 22nd for mention. Osho Guba Tribunal admits more exhibits against Adeleke and INEC. All right, there are other running stories here. Senate summons Finance Minister over 147 billion naira power project. Queries NDLEA for spending 1.5 billion on recruitment. All that on page 2. Atiku campaign tackles APC for disparaging other candidates. Says party suffering from amnesia. It's on page 8. Zamfara PDP chair slumps, dies after delivering speech. It's on page 28. Now, INEC to spend 355 billion naira in 2023 on polls. Others, according to commission, with the rider, as Nigeria needs 800 billion yearly for 10 years to fix infrastructure. Federal government incurs 956 billion naira outstanding liabilities on roads, housing, projects as a FEC approves 400 billion for contracts and road maintenance. All that could be read on pages 4, 8 and 26 of New Telegraph. Now, Lagos APC remains unbeatable, according to Tinubu, says party stronger than he left it. It's on page 8. 2023, people stealing national resources in name of fuel subsidy. That's what Shomole there. It's on page 3. Okay, take one of...
I'll take the Daily Trust newspaper, Kieran, and then let me just look at some of the headlines on the window page of the Daily Trust newspaper. You are on your own, or your PDP leaders slam Makinde over Tinubu. Now, CBN's Naira redesign triggers panic buying of grains and price hike. The lead story is an exclusive copy according to the paper, and it says, our dialogue with IPOB and other agitators. And that's according to Peter Obi, who is the presidential candidate of the Labour Party. And says cumulative leadership failure caused agitations. I'm not an Igbo candidate, and I'll use North to develop Nigeria. Details of that story you find on page 4 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Ethiopia and Tigray cease fire as Obasanjo facilitates talks. Federal government to establish 3.5 billion naira space museum in Abuja. Details on page 30. Space Museum in Abuja, page 30. 18 foreigners arrested for possessing voters' cards. And EFCC raids Kano Forex market, arrests BDC operators. Those are the headlines from the Daily Trust. Okay,
let's just go through leadership newspaper. Not all the stories that we mentioned here, because some of them have also appeared on other dailies. Rivers released 78 billion naira for projects. That's the River State government. It's on page 7. Now, let's go to the lead story on the leadership newspaper. PDP New Generation unveils Youth Campaign Council. 2 months after leadership queries U.S. Embassy yet to speak on Bagoda Kaltho's death. It's on page 4. 4 riders to that refuses to respond to letters, emails by leadership. Ex-U.S. envoy Russell Hunt fingered in Doba Hotel bombing, now elusive. Again, police DSS keep mum over call for investigation. Security threats under control. Presidency reassures Nigerians. It's on page 7. Kabal won't run my government, says Atiku. Okay, let's see one or two that we can.
Yeah, from the Daily Sun also, very quickly, we'll take some of the headlines on the front page of the paper. Daily Sun, the lead story says Atiku and Tinubu continue personal attacks. The details are inside. Ekwuremadu's camp joins forces with Mba, Enugu PDP governorship candidate. And then the federal government should release Kano now as respect for Mbazuluike. That's according to Iwayan, Uzodima, Kalu, Hakim, and others paid tributes. Court nullifies APC senatorial primary in Plateau. Others PDP to repeat Kano's central senatorial primary. Katsina, kidnappers of 40 children demand 30 million naira ransom. And Forex challenge worsens as dollar scarcity hits banks. Food security, now Senate to complete local machine design institute in Imo. You have details on page 3. Kieran.
Okay. The 30 children that were kidnapped.
39, actually.
39, I mean, it's another aspect of, the insecurity we're talking about. I had thought that Katsina has mellowed down with respect to incessant attacks, we've experienced in the past couple of months. But this time around, 39 children being kidnapped at a farm.
Yeah, this is typical. Yes, this is the typical operating style of kidnappers and bandits. There had been stories about protection racketeering. In other words, before farmers could go to cultivate their farms, they will pay some protection fee to the bandits or to kidnappers, and when they are also harvesting, before they harvest their crops, they also pay. some
Yeah,
cars.
I thought that happened somewhere in Maiduguri.
It happened in Maiduguri. It also happened in the northwest. It happened even in Niger State. We recall the governor of Niger State. I mean, we had a conversation on that on Good Morning Nigeria. Those who refused to pay, their farmlands were raised by the bandits. So it means that these gentlemen are still in operation. That's what it means.
Exactly.
And the security operatives, should respond to that. Yesterday, Kirian, happily you and I were on set, and we had some conversations around the death of Ifeanyi Adeleke, the 3-year-old son of Davido, the singer. There are some videos that have appeared online indicating how the incident happened.
CCTV,
CCTV footage of that. The police say they are also reviewing that CCTV footage to see whether that was the case. If you recall, our conversation centered essentially around the swimming pool. Now it turns out that the image from the CCTV, assuming that is the correct image of what of footage of what happened, that is not an adult swimming pool. It's an elaborate bathtub that you normally would use for kids. And the baby in that footage had a life boy.
It was so cheated,
Had a life boy. Somebody, go ahead, Kieran.
Somebody must have done that. Somebody must have cheated the kid, for him to be there, right? But when the kid started swimming, that person was nowhere to be found, right? So who did that at that point? And how could you have left a 3-year-old boy inside there? Whatever, if you had a safe, whatever, it does not make sense, because the child is a toddler. You don't leave him there for that long. He was swimming, trying to swim, and all of that.
That's also tragedy. I mean, the life boy, you know what a life boy is like? You have a tire. That's rubber. That's a life boy. That's rubber you put around the waist, on his waist, and then it slipped, and of course he lost his balance.
Exactly.
So if you are in a swimming pool, an adult swimming pool, there are usually lifesavers, and if there are no lifesavers around, there will be a warning sign to say, look, no lifesavers on duty. But if you are a minder of a toddler, and as you said, Kirian, the toddler is in the pool, and the child couldn't have stood and then be on his feet on his own. You just you needed to happen there to continually supervise, which also raises a question. It raises a question about the nannies and house help that we hire. It is not just sufficient to say, okay, the baby has a life boy, or the child is okay, the room, XYZ, so the child is on it. You leave the child on his own.
The issue of house help has even become a business. There are agents for that. If you want a house help, there are agents, who contract these people to you and all that. And the thing is not really, you don't have any back, check on who you are, giving someone to live with. You don't have a back check.
We don't have enough. There's no database.
So you don't know the family background of the person you're bringing to your house. You don't know her behavior and all of that, and you just take her in. And in this case, these people are being paid. These are people that have 8 of them in their house. They are being paid. So what are they being paid for if they can't look after a toddler or 3-year-old? I mean,
it just says it doesn't have to be in a pool. It doesn't have to be in a bathtub or otherwise. Just general supervision of children under your care. Don't take things for granted. And it's also important that the parents themselves, drive home the lesson to the toddler, to the house help, to the more particularly to the nanny, and so on and so forth. So look, XYZ, this is what you should do, this is what you shouldn't do. And we have seen videos of toddlers who have sometimes been abused.
Seriously.
Abused. They had beaten out of those children. And of course, when the videos surfaced, they got arrested.
And some of those girls that do such things, you ask them, of course, the main madam of the house, her treatment to the house help, also counts. Because
it's not
right. It is not justified to do that. But again, when you have to live with somebody, you have to develop antidotes. You have to develop a system of living with that person.
In other words, you have to also treat your house help and you're not
a human being.
Precisely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we call it a day here on Newspaper Review. We thank you for staying with us. Tomorrow we'll be back with another session of Newspaper Review on Good Morning Nigeria. Thank you for staying with us. We'll take a short break now. When we come back, we'll of course be dealing with our topic for today.
The Ministry of Police Affairs under my watch has been instrumental to strengthening the Nigerian police force to tackle challenges in the internal security architecture of the nation. To effectively achieve its mandate to protect lives and property within Nigeria, the Nigerian police have deployed operational intelligence and ICT-based apparatus to tackle and stem the tide of crime and criminality. Some of these efforts include the maximization of the Force Intelligence Bureau, Intelligence Response Team, and Special Tactical Squads, through digitalization of emergency contacts via the NPF Rescue Me application for emergency response at the tap of a button.
This message is brought to you from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
What we face mostly now are flashes of cowardly attacks from the rank of groups that have been routed in one location or the other, moving to another to give the false impression that they are still strong. Our ultimate goal is to eliminate them altogether and restore total and lasting peace over every inch of the Nigerian soil. Sounding tall, we take it home. We are determined to ensure that every inch of the Nigerian soil is safe. That determination is there. The order has been given. But we shall continue to protect the lives and property of Nigerians and foreigners in our midst. We shall continue to work for the peace of the nation and deter elements that constitute threats to the people. We shall bear the full powers of the government to secure every inch of our land. We shall not rest until peace is fully restored to Nigeria.
This message is brought to you from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
The Nigerian Television Authority (NTA), in collaboration with Havel Corporate Concept, presents Beyond the Debate, a series for all the 18 presidential candidates in the 2023 general elections to present their manifestos and visions to the Nigerian public as a social contract. Beyond the Debate will broadcast live on the network service of the NTA and stream on YouTube and other social media platforms beginning from 10th November 2022. The publicly signed manifestos by the candidates will be uploaded on this portal, www.summitofpoliticalparties.org. For further inquiries, please contact Dr. Badanga 08033173488. Hawan 08033121022.
Everywhere you go, from banks to hospitals to public offices, mass transit stations, airports, and even telecommunication centers, senior citizens are treated as nuisances. They are not. They are senior members of our society, and they deserve the utmost respect. We shouldn't be having our aged fathers and mothers standing in long queues to withdraw their monies at banks. Our retired senior citizens shouldn't be caught standing in buses for lack of seats or chasing after one just to get to their destination. Senior citizens shouldn't have to sit long hours in hospital corridors with no geriatric specialist to attend to them. Our senior citizens deserve better treatment from all of us. They deserve to be listened to. They are deserving of seat reservations on public buses and priority attendance in public spaces. As young people, we are quick to say, no one owes you. This is not true. We owe the elderly members of our society a helping hand, our services, and respect. Age-friendly societies have more senior citizens enjoying good health, living safely, and engaging in meaningful community work than those who do not. Dignifying age-friendly services for senior citizens.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. And we're live from our Abuja headquarters studios. Now, to begin our conversation, on the redesign of the Naira and the effect it is having on the exchange rate. Let's listen in to the views of some Nigerians on the trending issue. And this is compiled by our correspondent, Garba Muhammad Natala.
To redesign is fine when the economy is buoyant, but for now there's hardship everywhere. So it's equally cost to implement such a policy, except they have palliatives for the poor.
Honestly, I'm not really happy about it. The problem on ground, they are not talking. They are not saying anything about it. They are saying about changing the naira. Changing the naira. I don't think there is need for that.
What I take is that the return of money at this time, at this crucial time, it is not necessary. Even when we redesign the money, who will get the money most is the politician, and they will use it. Most of them are highly enriched. So when you redesign this money, they have an easy way because they still have power in the government. They have an easy way to combat, to collect more money.
Well, in a way that will help to recover a lot of money in the hands of these so-called big men in quotes. But then, like I said, the needful should be done. You know, let's do the needful. Let's start from where it is biting Nigerians. There is hunger everywhere. People are dying daily because they could not pay hospital bill. People will be sick. They cannot go to the hospital. There are better things this government should do now and forget about the Naira.
Since I was born, dollar has remained the way it is. It has not been changed. The most important thing is the strength of your currency. It's not about the color or the design of your currency. Now, let me tell you, the highest denominator in dollar is $100. You have $100, $5, $100. In Nigeria, we keep on saying changing. Does change bring about the increase or the value of an naira? The answer is no.
Well, thank you, Natala, for filling the pulse of Nigerians on the issue. And joining us now in the studio to do justice to the topic, first I'd like to introduce the professor of capital market at the Nasarawa State University, KEFI, and president, Capital Market Academics in Nigeria, Professor Uche Owaleke. Thank you.
Thank you, Kieran. Good morning, Nigerian.
We also have from our Benin studio another professor of economics and member CBN Monetary Policy Committee, Professor Mike Obadan. Prof, thanks for waking up with us this morning.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Good. Thank you.
All right. It looks like there's some delay.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. We, of course, Professors Waleke and Mike Obadan are regulars on Good Morning Nigeria. We also have another frequent guests on Good Morning Nigeria, Dr. Tope Fashua. Fashua, of course, is an economist and public affairs analyst. Dr. Fashua, we're glad to have you this morning.
Thank you for inviting me.
And we also have in the house the Director Currency Operations of the Central Bank of Nigeria. That is Ahmed Bello Umar. Madam Ahmed Umar, we are glad to have you on the program this morning.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to be here.
All right. And then joining us via Zoom is the President Association of Bureau de Change Operators of Nigeria, Dr. Aminu Gwadabe. Dr. Gwadabe, we're glad to have you this morning.
Good morning, sirs.
Well, I'm sure you know the reason why I'm chuckling this morning. But certainly, I mean, it's all guests, with the exception of the Director of Currency Operations of the Central Bank, the regulars on our program, Good Morning Nigeria. Last week, we commenced the conversation on the redesign of three of the banknotes, 200 Naira, 500 Naira, and 1,000 Naira. It's supposed to be a 30-day window, I believe, for all of that to end by the 31st of January 2023. So the countdown has already begun. Now let's come to the Director of Currency Operations of the Central Bank. The reasons for the currency change have been articulated and of course widely discussed. What is the report that the central bank at this time is getting from the money banks that are receiving the cash deposits?
Thank you. What we have received so far, based on as at the time of the announcement, we have a baseline report of all the transactions that are there that have been done as at the date of the announcement. And then now we are creating reports to see the deposits that will come into the banks, so that we'll be able to look at the amount of money that is brought in and then the amount of money that will be that would still remain outside. We created reports that will show the redesign notes 200, 500 and 1000 when we start issuing them. So we will produce, we'll put them there, and then because we are going to look at the total amount of money that is mobbed up after the exercise, which will be taken out of the currency in circulation. With the CBN came up with weighed so many things for the banks, yesterday I came across one piece of information where some people were saying that I made a statement to the effect that if you open a new account, you can only put 5 million naira. If it's an individual or if it's a corporate account, you only put 50 million naira per month. That is not correct. I did not issue any statement to that effect, and I'm just surprised that people are just playing pranks on themselves. There is no limit. In fact, the governor has announced clearly that the third KYC on account, where your account can only receive certain level of money the deposit into your account, has been waived for now. So people are allowed to bring all their money into their account. It's not that you can't do more than 500,000 or more than 5 million on your account. No limit. So it's not that somebody should not come to you and say, please take my money on my behalf, because my money, my account cannot take. That is not the point. And I never made any statement to the effect that we will use the BBN to trace anything. That's not correct. I don't know where they are getting those figures from, those statements from.
Okay, so there's no limit to the amount of money anybody can deposit in the bank.
Yes.
All right, that brings me to the main objective for redesigning.
Yes.
Because I want to believe that it is a concept, thought out, to be able to effect a change, a positive change in the monetary policy and transaction to respect to forex and what have you. So at this point, I'd like to bring in Professor Obadan, who happens to be a member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the CBN. Can we get further explanation on the objective for this? Because if you have to bring in any amount of money to deposit in the bank, what about the sources of such monies? If there's no limit to the amount of money we bring in, how would we not be able to target those who have perhaps scratched illicit money and what have you?
Well, thank you very much, Kirian. Before I respond to that, let me clear the misconceptions as expressed by most of the background reporters, interviewees. The perspectives that they share on the expected Naira notes seem, not to be born on knowledge. In other words, lack of understanding seem to have been displayed there. They don't seem to understand that there is a linkage between the primary mandate of the Central Bank of Nigeria, which is control of inflation and ensuring monetary stability. And that's why the perspective shared, probably they took the positions they took. The major or primary goal
of the new Naira notes is to enable the Central Bank of Nigeria to perform its monetary function better by having a good handle on inflation, which affects everybody. And the second primary goal is to ensure financial inclusion, bring nearly everybody, or if not everybody, into the banking system, which will also make monetary policy much more effective and make Nigerians happier. I think that is the major, thing that I want, people to understand. What those perspectives suggest is that the Central Bank of Nigeria has, a great task to perform. The task of public enlightenment, to show the relationship between its monetary policy function and then the new Naira notes. As I expressed, this program last week, the bank is not introducing the new Naira notes at this point in time to inflict pain and hardship on Nigerians. Far from it. Inflation at the moment is creating concerns for everybody, and the bank is implementing several measures that will enable it to have a good handle on inflation. I didn't really quite get the question that Kirian asked, so please just explain it in a way that I can understand.
I was saying that to some Nigerians, especially the interviewees, that you made the reference to, have their own understanding. One is that they believe that by doing this, we are going to checkmate those who have stashed illicit money somewhere. That's number one. Number two is that the exercise, of doing this exchange and what have you, would disrupt a number of things. Businesses, we're into electionary period and what have you. So I was thinking that if there was an original objective for which this was set up, how do Nigerians understand more of the reason why we should embark on this project, so to speak?
Okay, thank you very much. Well, yes, when the exercise is implemented successfully, the bank expects a large quantity of money that is outside the banking system to be within the banking system. And we are not expecting that when the money outside the system now is brought into the system, that it will be taken out, in the form of new Naira notes in equal measure. Not at all. And so the net effect is that there will be more money in the banking system. Yeah, it's possible those who have made illicit money and all that, if they don't want to lose their monies, then they definitely would have to bring such monies into the banking system. And once the money in circulation is known by the central bank and within the banking system, it will be able to use its monetary policy transmission mechanism to effectively control inflation through the growth of money supply. So I think that is the channel, and it will impact positively on Nigerians. Well, like I said, the central bank, must use its machinery to explain to the majority of Nigerians, if not every Nigerians, why this exercise is important and why it has a link with its monetary policy function and why it has a link with the standard of living of Nigerians. It's true the control of inflation.
All right. Professor Michael Bada, thank you very much there for your response. We'll get back to you in the course of the conversation. We earlier introduced Dr. Aminu Gwadabe, who is the president of the Bureau de Change Operators of Nigeria. He's with us via Zoom. Dr. Aminu Gwadabe, straight away, let's take advantage of the clarity of your Zoom connection to pop the question. And that's the principal focus of our conversation around the impact of the announcement of Naira redesign on the exchange rate of the Naira. On the parallel market, the rate has been galloping, and many are accusing Bureau de Change operators of being an avenue for the sabotage of the intended benefits of the Naira redesign. Dr. Gwadabe, your response.
Good morning, sirs, and thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to at least make clarification on the accusation. First, as an association, a self-regulatory organization, we totally disagreed on the generalization of criminalization and the marketing of the sector continuously. Let's give some statistics and see why, a kind of foundation. It's good to lay foundation to see where we are coming from, where we are, and where we are going. First, in terms of holding, what is the currency of preference for Nigerians when it comes to holding? It's not even Naira. So I don't even see why all the cries on the Naira redesign. What Nigerians prefer to hold is not even Naira, it's dollars. At least statistics have indicated that over $10 billion is under Nigerian pillows and under their bedsheet. So having these statistics, and now as a result of a new announcement, and we started blaming a subsector that is even almost comatose, that is going extinct, to be the cause of that problem. I think we as a licensed bureau de change of the Central Bank of Nigeria, we totally disagree on that generalization. Two, let's look at even the evaluation of Financial Action Task Force. I'm happy the Central Bank of Nigeria has been able to convince them that there are central bank licensed bureau de change, and there are also ungoverned spaces. Most people have confusion when it comes to identification. The licensed bureau de change put all of us together. We are not more than 6,000. You have over 1 million ungoverned space doing businesses in all the states of Nigeria. So having that statistics, and now there is a kind of leakages, and you decided to accuse even a formalized, a regulated sector. I think we are not de-risking the sector, instead we are demarketing it. So this should be looked into seriously, because it's perception of the country we are looking at. When you are leaving the unregulated, the ungoverned space, and accusing the regulated, that the CBN have the statistics, have the access, the security agencies have their access, have their statistics. So the thinking now should not be demarketing them, but de-risking them for the country's perception. Then let us look at the ratio of even the holding between the bank vault and the public. The statistics are proving that only 15% of the 3.2 trillion naira is in the banking vault. 85% is outside. Who is holding this 85%? Let's look at the proportion. We have about 40 million Nigerians on bank. We have 30 million Nigerians on the bank. We also have what we call Naira currency trading within the West African countries. So these are quantum of currencies that constitute what we are talking is even outside the banking industry. Then the effect of this redesigning because of intuitiveness of Nigerians to hold dollars. It's not the announcement. That intuitiveness, we can't even understand. The whole dollars is what is reflecting in the parallel market. And why is this so? Even the parallel market that we are talking about, their volume put together is no more than 3%. So there is a lot of scarcity, paucity of liquidity in that sector. So tell me, whereby I have a lot of money in my pocket, a lot of Naira, chasing few dollars. Whatever rate, in fact, it's even a seller market. The BDCs or the even on government players are buyers. They are not sellers. It's a seller market. The seller will come to the BDC or on the parallel market operator, and said my dollar is 850. Some will even quote, in fact, I can say the rate in the parallel market is artificial. It is not effective, and it's a bubble.
Okay. Well, all right, Alaji Adinu Gwadebe, we will return to you for further explanation. So, raise some very pertinent points, with respect to the subsector that you represent. We also heard constantly sometimes that the EFCC swooped into some of the offices of the operators, and got them arrested and what have you.
That's right.
Well, that's another aspect of it. Now, let's bring in Professor Uche Owaleke. You've listened to Professor Barton, listened to Aminu Gwadebe, and of course Dr. Bello Omar. Now, put all of what they have said into context with reference to the envisaged profits or benefits, drivable, from the current move by the Central Bank of Nigeria. You are, of course, a forex man. You understand how or what it will do to our foreign exchange. Let's hear from you.
Thank you very much, Kieran. Last week I was part of the conversation here, and permit me to reiterate what I said here last week, that when you have a measure like this, you are bound to have winners and losers. You're bound to have pros and cons, and that on balance, when you take it on balance, that it is in the interest of the Nigerian economy that this is done. So I remember I said it's a welcome development. And let me even ride on the statement, the last statement made by Dr. Gwadebe, that what is happening now in the parallel market is a bubble. The price is artificial, and I agree with him, totally. Now you find that following the announcement, because I also think it has to do with that announcement effect. The central bank says if you have Naira, you bring the Naira to the bank. Okay, that return you'll be given, new Naira notes. So, of course, what that does in people is that you should expect that a lot of people now with this Naira, particularly against the backdrop of the rumor that they're also using that to target those who have made illicit money. So, those people now with the Naira would want to, if you permit to use this word, securitize them, repackage the Naira into some other asset classes. And that is why you find that usually when this thing happens, you find the prices of other asset classes going up. Okay, elsewhere where it has happened, you find the price of gold will rise. Even as we speak now, the price of cars will go up, because people with Naira will want to convert them into some other assets. So these reactions, I'm saying, should be expected, but they are in the near term, they are just in the short term. If you take the case of India, a very good example. These things also happened as soon as the demonetization was announced on November 8th. So you find that the parallel market in India also, the price also, went up. That's also what we're experiencing here now. And I'm saying that it is so because of just as he said, too much Naira chasing too few dollars in the parallel market. And he said it's a very shallow, market. So I think it should be expected, and the central bank too. I want to also believe that before they even came up with this measure, that they have also factored it in, that in the short run, it is bound to happen. The exchange rate in the parallel market is bound to be on the very high side, Now, what I expect to happen by January 31st or even beyond that, because mind you, we don't demand money for its own sake. Okay. Now he has said that people hoard dollars, but again, people also hoard naira. There's this viral video of a naira note that was printed in 2007. I'm not where you saw it. Still in circulation. So that is one evidence, if it is true, that hoarding of naira, is also taking place. So people are hoarding naira while they're also hoarding dollars. But the point I'm making is that we don't demand money for its own sake. We demand money for what it can buy. So the question to ask is, the people demanding this dollar now in the parallel market, why are they demanding dollar? Is it that they want to import anything or they want to travel? They are also demanding to hoard. Now, what will happen is by January 31st or beyond then, remember I'm saying they are demanding dollar now to hoard. But again, you can't eat dollar. You're demanding dollar because you want to spend dollar. And
at a future date.
Yes, at a future date. So if after, and to spend it in Nigeria, you have to convert it again to naira. So if beyond 31st, there is scarcity of naira, so to speak, because the bulk of it has now entered the banking system, I want to predict that the exchange rate in the parallel market will crash because you can't convert it to naira, and particularly the central bank follows it up with repeated warning or circular that says that the naira remains our legal currency. You cannot spend dollar in Nigeria. You cannot price your goods in Nigeria. Just the other day, I think it was in April, Ghana made that announcement that CD was illegal. You shouldn't spend. So if they do that, the central bank does that, and people know that it will be difficult for them to go and reconvert it to naira. So it will now be pointless trying to say you are holding dollars because, as I said, you cannot demand dollars except you intend to spend it, and if you're spending it in Nigeria, you have to reconvert it, to naira.
All right, Professor Oluke, thank you very much. Topper, we've kept you on hold for a while. Of course, we've not had your comments, at least on Good Morning Nigeria, on the redesign of the naira. I know that would be a natural takeoff point. So link that up to the very instructive comment made by Dr. Aminu Gwadabi, that what we are seeing in terms of the volatility, if you may, on the parallel market, the exchange rate is artificial and it's also a bubble. The question then would be, when we get to that level, would be, how do you deal with a bubble? We know a bubble on the capital market, and that, of course, is there. So, Topper, let's have your
Thank you very much, Mr. Kingsley. And so, the word bubble in financial market was first used by Jonathan Swift in 1720. That's the author of Gulliver's Travels. You see, and he spoke about bubble in relation to the South Sea. As at that time, the English people, they thought they could capture South America. They didn't know that Spain was there already. And so what they did, like they came to Africa, when the stock exchange was developing, it was actually in bars. So people will put money on it and say, wow, we're going to South Sea. The pirates were the ones going there. So they will loot. And when they come back to England, it was a lot of money to be made. However, that was a bubble, because by the time they reached there, with a charter from the Queen, the King of England, they found out that Spain had already taken over. So South Sea crashed. What they call the South Sea Company crashed. And so I actually absolutely love that term that Dr. Gwadabe has used this morning. And I want to use it to reassure myself, because again, as it pertains to Nigeria's exchange rate, people have always played that bubble. And in fact, I probably will say that the divergence between the official rate of 440 and the current 800 and whatever is actually a bubble, and it has always been increasing. And however, there are several issues that are thrown up.
I would ride on what Professor Badan said, that look, this is actually one of the ideas behind the redesign of the currency is actually to tackle inflation, because if there's so much money out of central bank control, how then do they rein in inflation? If there's so much money chasing few goods, that is inflation. We're on 20.8 or thereabouts now, which is not good enough. However, the inflation is also an international phenomenon as we're speaking. In all the nations of Europe and all of that, even up to America, they're looking at 50-year highs. However, it's not only that, there's an operational issue. The operational aspect is that also the central bank, as the money issuing authority, from time to time has to call in the currency and redesign, because currency technology is improving. And so you cannot sit in one place and say that what you have pushed out will just be there forever. I mean, a lot of Nigerians have been sounding off on this, and you wonder whether, as Francis Fukuyama said in the turn of the century, which he was wrong about, that it was the end of history. It is not the end of history for Nigeria's currency. We are here today, we're going to be gone tomorrow. Those who will come, nobody knows what kind of currency they will be spending. It has to keep changing. And that's where the history of currency comes in Nigeria, our currency management. 1959, we had the currency issued by the Federation of Nigeria. 1963, when we became a republic, it was changed to a currency issued by the Federal Republic of Nigeria. 1968, during the war, they said there was abuse of the currency. They changed the currency again. 1973, we changed to the Naira. 1977, we bought the Murtala to commemorate Murtala Muhammad. 1978, they created the 1 Naira, 5 Naira, 10 Naira notes, different colors. 1984, Buhari came and changed all the colors. You can see irregularity. By 1991, they brought the 50 Naira and also created some coins. 1991, 1999, they created the 100 Naira. 2000, they created 200 Naira. 2001, they created 500 Naira. 2005, they created 1,000 Naira. And Soludo also brought in some coins which were not successful, but there was some reorganization of the... However, since 2005, we've gone to sleep in currency management, noting the fact that we also have huge problems with counterfeiting. There was a guy in 2019 who was caught in Banana Island, of all places, trying to print 20 billion Naira and push it into circulation. The case is still on in DSS. People can Google it. There was another guy in Ikorodu, and all over every state in this country, every state capital, they have caught people who are trying to counterfeit or who have been counterfeiting money. So you cannot just go to sleep. We should not expect the central bank to go to sleep. Currency management is one of the key functions of the central bank. In some other countries, a different organization does the printing of currency, but you have to, of course, link up with the central bank of that. However, so it's one of the functions. We cannot expect them not to perform that function from an operational perspective, and it is what they're doing. Since 2005, 17 years on, we should actually be asking them, why has this not happened before? And given all of the problems we have operationally, risk management-wise, counterfeiting-wise, perhaps we should even do this more often. And of course, we have seen not only 2007, mint money of 2003 coming out now, mint currency. Not to talk of dirty money that people are now sun-drying. And part of the idea is also to haul in more of those kind of currencies. And I must say, I've also been around the world a bit recently after COVID. Every country has changed their currency. I was in Ethiopia just last week, and I had some beer, their currency. I thought, let me spend this money in the airport. They said, sorry, we changed this money 18 months ago. Inside COVID. So when people talk about it's not the right time, nobody said that currency changing or changing the design of the currency is going to solve all our monetary policy problems. That is not the promise. Nobody said it will happen like that. When is ever going to be the right time? In fact, I have it that in 2014, the central bank tried to change the currency. But politically, it wasn't going to fly. 2019, politically, it's not going to fly. Maybe now the president sees that, look, I'm on my way out, I have nothing to lose. Why not if not? From an operational perspective. So it's something we need to do more often. We've even seen scenarios where Nigerians are forging currencies in Uganda. Anybody can actually Google it. You see Nigerians caught forging currencies in Uganda. Different kind of currency. Now, currency forgery is an international affair. But currency technology is improving. And like I said before, Ethiopia has changed currency that I know. Egypt has changed currency. UK has changed all their currencies. £50, £20, £10, £5, all polymer now. And in fact, you see that the world has also stopped spending cash. In a place like the UK, you would hardly find £100 anybody carrying £100 to the shop. You would hardly see cash. Everybody is just tapping in these days, which is part of what the central bank wants to do as well, I believe. And you know, I will close by saying that the behavioral aspect, what pushes Nigerians to want to move against their currency? This is back to what the central bank must really educate people on. Your currency is your representation. I may have said it on this platform before. You know, when they say that according to Joseph Stalin, which was repeated by Margaret Thatcher in 1980 when she was talking to some British businessmen, he said, to destroy a country, the first thing you do is to debauch its currency. To destroy a country, the first thing you do is to debauch its currency. When Russia waged the war against Ukraine, what did Joe Biden said when they started imposing sanctions on Russia? He said, the ruble will soon become rubble. Which tells you that, you know, decimating the currency of a country is a war against the currency. So if people decide that is the best idea now, and I like the fact that we also can foresee that by the end of this operation, January 31, CBN will also do one or two things. That rate will crash. If, for example, we don't slush the environment with cash, and it's so difficult for you to even feed, but you have dollars at home, and you go to the malam say, listen, sorry, there's nothing I can do, that I don't even have Naira cash. You will have to say, okay, look, just give me anything you can. You will reduce your rate. And however, I also believe that the black market has become so normalized in Nigeria.
Parallel.
Yes, sir.
Not black market. Not black.
I don't know what they mean by parallel. Okay, let me tell you why.
Black. No, forget black. We are black people.
Okay, I understand you. Okay, but let me tell you why this distinction is very important, sir. You see, when you call something, call it parallel market, you know, let us not escape to become normalized. When you call something a black market, for example, or call it a parallel market, it is actually an underworld market. A friend of mine went to Kenya, for a training. He wanted to change some $100 or thereabout. Someone told him, no, you can, on Jomo Kenyatta Avenue, you can just go around the corner, there's some guys there. He brought out the money and somebody raised an alarm. Hey, what are you trying to do? Now, Kenya is a very strict place. I was on that same Jomo Kenyatta. I couldn't take a photograph on the street. Under 2 minutes, a policeman accosted me and ensured I deleted the picture. I said, which kind of country is this? So the black market has become so normalized. It's so easy to see them. And so because of the ease of exchange, they are actually out-competing the central bank and the banks and the BDCs. The BDCs should not ordinarily be trading in parallel rates. Or call it whatever, black market. Let me not use the word black. Yeah. Black is beautiful. We are not talking about you know what I'm saying?
Because there's no white market.
Yeah. But that is back to the central bank. This is what they need to do. And I tell you what, this is an opportunity for us to actually, decimate that market. That's why people blame central bank. They say central bank is not, they say they don't reckon with black market. Central banks anywhere in the world cannot ever reckon with black market. It's not to encourage them or normalize them or bring them to the dinner table. What you do is to decimate it so that people will be afraid of going to the black market. And when you go to those markets,
you keep doing this. Stop by. You go to the
But when you go there, whatever you see is what you get. But I think that over time, what the central bank is challenging itself to say that, look, whatever legitimate transactions that people want to do, they'll be able to do it through the official means of our banks and the BDCs cooperating together with the central bank. I believe, let me end it at that. There's still so much more to say.
Yes, but the important thing here is that the BDCs are also licensed to operate, and they need a space to be able to do that reasonably, perhaps according to the monetary policy in place. You mentioned the operational issues. Currency technology, which has improved tremendously. I just hope that the improvement in currency technology will not make it easy for the Yahoo boy to be able to print their own currency because it is technology. Of course, it is open. Whatever is science or whatever is scientifically proven is ubiquitous in terms, because what happens here scientifically happens in America. If it's not so, then it's not scientific. From what I understand. Now, I want to go to the central bank man, Malam Ahmad Bello Omar. Was the plan of this redesign shrouded in some kind of secrecy? I'm asking this question because I believe that the nexus, between monetary policy and fiscal policy, and those in charge of fiscal policy in the country were not prior, to this plan and what have you. Now, in the implementation aspect of it, would you expect any fiscal policy initiative to see how this monetary policy can be adequately implemented? As a matter of fact, I'm asking from a layman's point of view.
Okay, I know there have been some issues about the fact that some people are not aware of the fact that we are going to redesign. Sometimes information is shared on a need to use or need to know basis. The CBN Act clearly specifies the job of CBN under Section 2, that's the core mandate of the bank, and Section 18 and 19 specifies if you want to change the design, form, and structure of your currency, how you go about it. It's clearly spelled out in the CBN Act. So what CBN did was basically to follow the legal procedure by seeking and obtaining the approval of the president, just like the governor of the central bank has reiterated. And then we had it because we feel there are some objectives behind it. So it's not that you just get involved, that there are news that you don't share with everybody. It's like the Security Council. You won't know what they discuss. If you are talking about what the police intend to do, they won't come and tell you in public. But we feel that there is sufficient opportunity that exists, which we are exploring. We have several committees between the monetary and fiscal authorities that we leverage on for us to be able to pass such information. Besides, at least the permanent secretary, Federal Ministry of Finance, is a member of the CBN board, and we believe that whatever we are doing is for the interest of Nigeria. It's not about taking the glory or the shine from anybody. So we expect a lot of cooperation from many of the players in the space, and then we are having a lot of interagency relationships with people that will make the whole exercise successful. I just want to, I feel by the time we work it around all the agencies involved, the desired result will be achieved. The intention of the redesign exercise is not to mop up and replace the entire amount. That we are not removing 2.7323 trillion out of circulation only for us to issue the same quantity of Naira out. No. What we are doing is that we are going to ride on it and then come up with other policies that will support the adoption, further adoption of electronic payment and the cashless policy. That will be the opportunity for us to roll the cashless policy nationwide, because that will be a better position. So somebody should not expect that when he takes 100 million Naira and we'll give him a brand new set of 100 million Naira. Just to clarify what Karen was saying at the beginning about the fact that we say everybody is free to bring his money. We are conscious of the fact that a lot of people, unless, just like the president reiterated in his interview, that unless you have something to hide, 90 days is enough window for you to change your money. And if it's your money, why are you afraid to bring the money to the bank? So the KYC, before they receive the money for you, you must have a valid KYC, a VBN, to identify you.
Tell our viewers all this to explain KYC. So you know your customer, but tell our viewers.
When you want to open an account, even if you don't have an existing account, you can walk into any branch of the bank and ask them that you want to open a new account. All you want to do is to have something that they can truly identify you. The bank verification number, which the bank will do, and now maybe they will take your name, maybe your house address, utility bill, and so on. If you are a corporate, you have certificate of registration, you have all the other documents that will be requested, what is this, tax registration, and so on. Once you have those ones and your money is legit, why are you afraid of putting the money? You are free to bring your money, because people are saying, oh, we want to do it so that people cannot change their money, that they will lose it. No, We don't want anybody to lose his money. That's why we are saying, if it is your money, bring it. If you refuse to bring it, then you have your own other reason that you don't want to tell us why you are not bringing it.
It means you are prepared to lose it.
Yeah. And sincerely, at the end of the exercise, we may not see 100% of that money that we anticipate will come back. Some may not have the lever to bring it. Some may not want to bring it. Some may not be available to bring it. So, because if you are seeing mint news of 2003, which is 15 years, 2007, 2003, 500 and 200, and I saw mint issued by a bank just this week. I'm surprised what people have in their this thing.
No, but should that be surprising? Let's be realistic. Because sometimes of the state of the bank notes, some persons will prefer to have mint. You just keep it for keepsake. Let me just have it. These notes are these notes are brand new, and to the extent that they are still legal tender, you like to have them. But now that the policy has been announced, they're bringing it depends, of course, on the quantity.
Yes.
If the quantity will break a bullion van, then that's a different consideration. But I would like you to also comment on some of the videos that have gone viral. I'm sure you have seen some of them.
Yes.
Dr. Fashwa, a moment ago, talked about people sun-drying Naira, where they are bringing them from damp locations, XYZ. There's also the video of what we call a trailer, usually an articulated truck. Yeah. They said these are mutilated. Those say, look, see the moment Nigerians are wicked. Are they? What is the reality?
Well, I've seen videos. I've seen several videos that are trending now. One that is that we need to first of all notice the fact that there is one that is saying that we are doing 2,000 and 5,000 naira. Please, the general public should know that it's false, it's fake news. We are not doing any new denomination over and above the 1,000 naira. So people should, we have put some advert outside on our handle that if you see anybody with that 2,000 naira or 5,000 naira in circulation, you should inform the security agencies nearest to you. Pertaining to the trailer, I think it was the waste that was being circulated that somebody mixed with other cartons and so on. We have made effort to verify it, and we're expecting them to tell us what it is. But it's not actually live money. They are wastes that because CBN has a system of when we break it, we get people who recycle it. The polymer we give people in the plastic companies to produce pellets. If it is paper, we get people to put it back to use in the form of books or any other thing that is not harmful to human beings. But what happened in that case was the way they stored it, there was a rainfall and the place was damaged and they were conveying it. But what those people saw was not really live money. Okay. And because if you look at the video, it's just, but the man was swearing that he is money. I don't think so.
All right.
I've seen another one too, where somebody was spreading money and they were saying he has to do it. I don't know. Okay. We'll be very happy if we can locate such people.
All right. Thank you. Let's return to Professor Obadan once more before we take a short break. Professor Obadan, you had earlier told us that this exercise is part of policies put in place by CBN to check inflation in the country. And of course, Professor Dr. Tobe Faswa also amplified that with his explanations. Now, some other nations which Professor Dr. Tobe talked about changed their currencies and what have you, but those nations still have issues with inflation. Even UK, India, Ethiopia, even America. Inflation is still biting in those well organized economies, if you like. Now, how will this Nigerian situation, how will the current exercise affect Nigerian situation positively with respect to curbing inflation, at least to bring it down, to a single digit?
Thank you very much, Kirian. what we must understand and know is that inflation derives from several factors. There is something we call in economics monetary inflation. That is inflation which derives from too much money in circulation, so much quantity of money in circulation in relation to the availability of goods and services. Besides that aspect, there are other crucial factors too that are non-monetary, and such factors would include, for instance, the issue of imported inflation, domestic factors like the impact of insecurity in food producing areas of the country, on inflation due to shortages of food and related products. And in this case, the money supply over the past 4, 5, 6 years has been trending upwards in relation to the quantity of goods and services available. And so, central bank uses monetary policy to control, money supply, achieve optimal money supply growth, so as to check, inflation. So in this case, the expectation is not that once the new Naira notes are introduced and plenty of money from outside the banking system is now within the banking system, that once the bank is able to use its monetary policy instruments, monetary policy rate or discount rate, cash reserves, and other tightening measures, that will eliminate all the drivers of inflation. No, but it will contribute significantly to factor out that phenomenon of expanding money supply. So inflation definitely will reduce. We also expect then that, things that the fiscal authority need to do to, check inflation would also be done. So I want to assure that the impression is not being given that, once the new Naira notes are in place, the quantities of money outside are now within the banking system, and that once a tightening monetary policy stance is implemented, that it will eliminate imported inflation. It may not be so. It may not eliminate food inflation, but the impact on inflation will be good in terms of reducing it. The monetary angle of inflation will be factored out. So,
all right, Professor Michael Badon, thank you very much there for your explanation. And gentlemen, we have to take a short break now. When we return, we continue with the conversation.
We are all Nigerians. Against all odds, we shall and must remain united. We may have our challenges, our problems, and setbacks. However, together we shall overcome them all. What doesn't break us shall make us stronger. This is the mindset that shall bring peace, progress, and prosperity to our beloved country. Do not let tribal and religious sentiments govern how you think, act, or feel. Don't be influenced by those who want to destroy our precious national unity. Everybody who's a Nigerian is your brother and your sister. This is the mindset of the new Nigeria. It is also the mindset that we must all adopt. Let us support each other in creating the Nigeria of our dreams. This message is from the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
The Ministry of Police Affairs under my watch has been instrumental to to strengthening Nigerian police force to tackle challenges in the internal security architecture of the nation. To effectively achieve its mandate to protect lives and property within Nigeria, the Nigerian police have deployed operational intelligence and the ICT-based apparatus to tackle and stem the tide of crime and criminality. Some of these efforts include the maximization of the Force Intelligence Bureau, Intelligence Response Team, and Special Tactical Squads through digitalization of emergency contacts via the NPF Rescue Me application for emergency response at the top of a button.
This message is brought to you from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Nigerians, elections are here again. Let us shun violence. Let us play the game according to the rules. Do not be a thug. Say no to violence. Let's rise and defeat violence, crime, and sabotage against the peace of our nation. Nigeria is the only country we have. We must do everything to keep it united. We must avoid any act that promotes hate and disintegration. Say no to separatist movement, terrorism, fake news, hate speech, religious bigotry, and any act that tends to divide us as a nation. Watch out for strange gatherings and suspicious movements. Restrict access to sensitive documents and data, the disclosure of which may damage national security. Educate your staff and family, particularly on measures to safeguard information and report security breaches. Apply relevant legal security guidelines to protect yourself and your neighbors. Due to misinformation and wrong choices, some idle persons resort to vices in their greed to get rich quick. They resort to kidnapping, killings for rituals, and other heinous crimes. Avoid wrong use of the social media. Before you broadcast that false message, think twice. Ask. Still, be security conscious. Educate your household on safety tips. Report all suspicious movements and persons to the security agencies nearest to you. Be a good citizen. Be patriotic. To pass security information, please call 0813-222-2105, 0915-339-1309, 0908-837-3514, or send a mail to dsspr@dss.gov.ng. This message is from the Department of State Services, DSS.
Finally, the hero of Nigeria's democracy has arrived. He shall usher us into a new phase of development, peace, and prosperity. He is the father of the new Nigeria, His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR. Welcome to another season of giving Nigerians hope yet again. We are sure of a great future for both ourselves and generations yet unborn. We look forward to your leading us as a nation into our manifest destiny. Though the challenges against us as a people are many, we know that your leadership shall set us on the right path to our greatness. A new dawn beckons on us all, and having you as our president is a precursor to this. Thank you for believing in Nigeria. This message is from the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
You're still watching Good Morning Nigeria, the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. All our 5 guests are still with us. I want to return to Dr. Aminu Gwadabe, President of Bureau de Change Operators. Dr. Gwadabe, of course, part of the explanation you gave triggered quite some interesting reactions also from the other guests. You have said that what we are saying now in terms of the oscillations on the parallel exchange rate, what we are saying there is a bubble, it's artificial. Fine, but you also made a distinction between the regulated subsector of the forex market, namely the Bureau de Change Operators, and what you described as those who operate in the ungoverned spaces. And then the argument was made to say, look, how do you then decimate or dramatically reduce the influence of the operators in the ungoverned space against the backdrop of what we know, namely that some of those in the ungoverned space of the forex market, in the informal forex market, have presumably linkages with even the bureau de change operators. Some of them, they will say, well, let's go to our office, or we are going to our office, wait for me inside your car, I'm going to our office. That office will be the air-conditioned bureau de change operators. And the rates amongst bureau de change operators and those in the government spaces, the rates are uniform. So how then do you shift them? How then do you deal with one without affecting the other? And what will be your prescription, for instance, in dealing with the elements in the government space? Dr.
Thank you very much for this question. It's about solution now we are talking about. On our part, as an association, we have submitted proposal. One's on reforms, self-reforms of even the license bureau de change. We quite appreciate the challenge of the central bank in terms of our numbers for supervision and monitoring. So there are proposals sent to the central bank on how we can reform even the operation of the bureau de change. Two, why even the ungoverned space are more energetic than the licensed one is the opportunity. The licensed bureau de change business model is purely a cash business model framework, whereby they are not on payment space. A bureau de change is not allowed to do inbound and outbound. So, and in other climes, you can go to a bureau de change office and say, I want to send $1,000 upkeep for my son. Here, we are not allowed to do it. So, these are some of the challenges that even make us weaker when we are competing with the ungoverned space. And like I've said, we have put reforms. First is to address even the lingering paucity in the retail end sector. Where the pressure is the retail end sector. For instance, even if you look at the inward proceeds, the inward proceeds are supposed to be collected from the bank, if possible, bring it to either the BDC or an ungoverned operator. And right now, even in the banking industry, you go looking for $400, $1,000. Some of the banks will tell you even only have $5,000 in the entire bank vault. So there is scarcity at the retail end. And the reason for bringing in the bureau de change into the foreign exchange window is to meet the critical retail end. I'm happy Dr. Fatoshe has also advocated that there is the need for collaboration between the banks, between the bureau de change and the Central Bank of Nigeria. We are willing to support the policies of the Central Bank of Nigeria and to ensure that there is liquidity. Yes, there is this fear that even if you provide liquidity, maybe the same money that we are afraid to bring in will come through the bureau de change. We have a structure, we have a system, we have a guideline whereby we have threshold of transaction. If a BDC is empowered, definitely it will even help the transmission mechanism of the central bank policy, because we are part of the transmission mechanism of central bank policy like the Central Bank of Nigeria. And two, for those that are afraid to bring their own Naira into the banking vault, I want us to borrow what is being done by other countries in terms of repatriation. What is it? If your country want to repatriate at least maybe stolen money abroad, the first thing they come with is forgiveness. See, within these 3 months, if there is anybody that brings this money, he is forgiven. It's time too simplistic. But that is also the way that you can be sure of getting this money. But once there is this fear that we are going to, investigate, we are going to do that, that we put pressure on the already scarce foreign exchange that we have in the open market. Then thirdly, it's not all about condemnation like I've started from the beginning. Even if we look at this on government operators, 1 out of 5 Nigeria have one thing or the other to do with is being these government operators. That is the fact. They are Nigerians, they contribute to the economy, but the only aspect is that they are not within the central bank purview, and that will also provide how we can digitalize them. It's about technology. For instance, we are talking of Naira. How many Nigerians are onboarded on the Naira? Not more than 1 million people. Even the other electronic payment that are still far way off. So we need to, yes, embrace technology, even their own operation. Like I said, we have put proposals on how we can have a holistic market. There must be a holistic market. They have given example of Kenya where you cannot go and operate underground. It's a crime. Clamping down of temporal or government operators is not peculiar to Nigeria. We have seen it in Egypt. We have seen it in Ghana. The foreign exchange of any country is its oxygen. So the Central Bank of Nigeria cannot fold its arms and be looking at the abuses. So there must be, and any policy you bring today, the implication of it might not come today, it might come in 1 year, 2 years. So there is a need for collaboration for all stakeholders. Like I said, we are willing to cooperate, and the revisiting of the suspension of our operation at this point is germane, is key, because the market is dry. And when there is dryness, when there is shortage of supply, the tendency is not a rocket science. It's an economic theory. Definitely when demand is higher than the supply, and there are people willing, able to buy it at any rate, then.
All right, thank you indeed. I mean, I can see the enthusiasm and of course the energy in you. Professor Waleke, is that sense in what Aminu Gwadebe is talking about with respect to the operationalization policy of the central bank, with respect to the BDCs? Are they really making their desired impact in the system? He has already given us examples of what happens elsewhere. All right, so should they be further giving a space to operate in the monetary policy of the country? Would that help the nation, from what he has alluded this morning?
I think we've heard from him. He has said that they are an important channel in the central bank transmission mechanism. Yes, I support that BDCs should exist. My worry with BDCs of late is their number, their share size, and you also alluded to that. And because of their share size, over 6,000, supervision on the part of the central bank becomes pretty difficult.
But who issue the licenses?
Yes, of course, it's the central bank, and that's primarily why in most clients, what you find is that BDCs are more or less on their own. They look for their forex. They don't depend on the central bank, to fund them. But that's an aside. I want to say that I want to believe that the central bank, has studied the experiences of some other countries that have gone through this part of redesigning. Talking about Australia, Ghana, Zimbabwe, Russia, and even India. And if you look at those experiences, for me, I already know what to expect, even beyond January. Because in the case of India, even provided a hint, the central bank at some point began to place limits. Okay, he has said it's not everything that will come in that will be replenished. So central bank, the Reserve Bank of India, placed limits on withdrawals, okay, including from ATM.
Cash withdrawals.
Cash withdrawals.
Not limits on your transaction. That's right.
No.
In other words, if you want to spend by cashless, you can spend. Yeah.
Yes, because
it's important for Nigerians to get that.
Yes, cash withdrawals. Yes. So at that point, they also began to emphasize the cashless thing. So as I said, on balance, there are merits, and that's also why you find that the European Central Bank, in spite of the fact that their currency, the euro, is relatively stable, European Central Bank have just announced that it is going to redesign its currency by 2024. So if currency redesign doesn't have any merit, the European Central Bank wouldn't be thinking of doing that. And permit me to,
I just want to add, should the operational horizon of the BDCs be allowed, in your understanding?
Of course, they attend to the retail segment of the market. The central bank should continue to support them in whatever way, but not to the point of, as I said, becoming the major source of forex, to them.
In the market. Professor Waleke, you know the way we operate.
Yes.
We're getting pressed for time. So I like Dr. Tokwe Fashua to also weigh in here. I'm going to put two issues on the table for you to quickly deal with, and of course the Director of Currency Supervision of the Central Bank may also weigh in. One, the proposal to attenuate the influence of ungoverned operators, as Gwadabe said, very rightly so. How do you reduce their influence? They are rendering a service, but their service is also dysfunctional. How do you reduce their influence? That's one. Secondly, the conversation we are having here would appear to be very sweet to the ears of those in urban areas. 774 local government areas. Do all of the banks have branches in all of the 774 local government areas? Those who are in rural locations and have money, the transaction cost of going to deposit your money in a local government far away from you, and then you coming back and they'll say, no, you will not be able to access it, some of the literacy levels and so on and so forth. How do we factor this in? In all of this, as I said, this for urban dwellers, our conversation this morning is sweet to the ears. But then we also have that unbanked segment. Whatever we're looking at the figures, there are tens of millions.
Thank you very much. And in fact, let me start with the second one to say that, you see, Nigeria has one of the most developed financial market industries in the world. Sometimes I worry that the financial market is moving too way ahead of the real sector. There are many things that are possible in Nigeria that are not possible in the UK, even in the US. We send money by USSD. You send on your phone or your laptop. Different ways of sending money and all of that. So much ease, you see. But they've tried. And even down to the those local areas, banking has reached there. Apart from the fact that our banks are still looking for customers, this is a great opportunity for them. Those who are looking for deposit, this is a great opportunity for them. We have microfinance banks still in operation. We have finance houses licensed by the same CBN. All of them. This is a great opportunity for them. I was in Sapele about 2-3 weeks ago, and I was shocked by the number of POS people on the road. And everywhere you are going, there was a POS man who could disburse cash to you.
Sapele is a town.
Well, it's a town. I know. I mean, even when you go there off Sapele and to other places, it was my first time in Sapele. Fantastic place, actually, with a lot of colonial relic there. Colonial houses and so on.
AT&P was there. African
exactly. And was one of them. That's massive.
Yes.
So to a large extent, I think that the financial structure we have now, we'll be able to. This is not 1984. People may not be as stranded as possible as people are projecting. And of course, within 30 days, even someone in the local areas, given the fact that the banks and microfinance will also push to try and see how much money they can rake in and mop up, those ones will always make it down to change their money. And then I want to emphasize the operational aspect. They say follow the money. No matter what is going on in society, if you want to trace and be sure of what's going on, follow the money. So part of the idea of redesigning the currency is also to be able to follow the money. Imagine the kind of drug busts that under Naira the NTA has been doing. There's a certain person in Lagos, some people, $236 million worth of whether cocaine or heroin, I don't know what it was.
They're into billions.
That's a world record bust, really. And we've been having so many of those things. Those monies don't go into banks. So that tells you the volume, the quantum of money that could be outside in circulation and all of that. So regarding the bureau de change and the so-called ungoverned spaces,
ungoverned operators.
Number one, we have about 6,000 licensed bureau de change, which is a big misnomer. It's unheard of. I did some research on this. I found out that in the UK they have 145. By the time I did that research about a few years ago, 145 BDCs with branches all over the place. Okay, I tried to do in the US, there are even fewer. But in the city of New York, which is a hub, it's a tourist hub, I found 45 in New York. Now, the idea behind bureau de change is to drive tourism. Nigeria is not particularly a tourism country. There's a lot more tourism going on in Kenya, in Uganda, in South Africa, in Egypt, than in Nigeria. But so what my proposal, and the so-called ungoverned spaces are those ones that are not licensed but are also operating. They must be criminalized fully.
Well,
we don't want to see them on the road.
The irony of it is that they're also working with the licensed bureau.
No. So I think the problem is the ubiquity.
The problem is the ubiquity.
Right.
Let me just say, very important. It's very important. In 2 seconds. It's the ubiquity of it, the ease with which people can change money.
Yeah.
Okay, in the UAE they have 130 bureau de change. So I'm proposing for the BDCs. The central bank should consolidate them. If the central bank can consolidate banks, how much more BDC? We don't need more than 100 in this country.
Okay.
But if you see the operation, it's a very profitable business. Fee-based income. They don't lend money to anybody, and they can do better than they're doing right now. But everything must be documented when you deal with them.
Already
documentation
has been licensed, and there's nothing you can do about it. You cannot delicense them.
They can.
All right. Okay.
Can somebody issue the license?
You can
revoke. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming here this morning. Professor of Capital Market, Professor Uche Waleke. Thank you indeed, as always. Professor Obadan, member CBN Monetary Policy Committee. We also appreciate you being here this morning with us. Of course, via Benin. We're appreciative of that. Okay. And again, we had Malam Ahmed Bello Omar, Director Currency Operations CBN. We thank you indeed. And of course, Aminu Gwalebe, Alhaji Aminu Gwalebe, he's of course president of the Association of Bureau de Change Operators in Nigeria. Thank you. All right. And of course, the last person to speak on this show today, Dr. Tokbe Fashwa. We also appreciate you being here.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Okay, that's it for us on Good Morning Nigeria today. Look after yourselves. See you again tomorrow, same time, 7 o'clock in the morning. I don't want to raise the fact whether Kylian watched some of the great matches that were played last night on the Champions League. Defending champions.
I watched Rangers yesterday. I didn't watch
which Rangers International, the Flying Antelopes?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Oh, fantastic. That's great. All right, see you tomorrow. I'm Kingsley Osadolo.
And I'm Kylian. We might see you again later.